Hi, I'm Diana Padilla, and I'm going to be talking about Horace Fox in the City for my Section 3 book, written by Jackie Hazel and also illustrated by her. The story is about Horace the Fox. It starts off with his mom telling him it's time to go from their den. It looks like this. In that den, he lives with his mom and his two sisters, Kitty and May. He's 9 months, and his mom tells him it's time for him to go. So he does. He has a hard time leaving, but he leaves. He's really sad about it, to be alone. So he thinks, oh, maybe I can go look for my brothers, because his older brothers also left before him. So he says, maybe I could go find them, and he goes out into the city. Throughout the book, he's always hungry. He's always looking for food, and at one point, early on in the book, he encounters an old friend, Charlie, and him and Charlie are going to go on this adventure. Anytime there's italics in the story, it's kind of what Horace thinks, what he's thinking. So when he encounters his friend Charlie, they go and look for food. Charlie shows him around because Charlie's a city fox, and he starts showing him around. And then they begin to be chased by two unknown creatures, and it turns out it is a snake and a weasel. In the beginning of the book, it kind of introduces the characters that are going to be in the story. Like, the first one is Horace the Fox, the second is Charlie Boom, his friend, Loveness Fox Duca, and then Weasel Le Hoop, Zigzag McVitie, and Badger Bernard. There's also other characters like Johnny Red, Bishop Fox, Claritina, which is Loveness's mom, Horace's mom, his sisters, and then Bernard's son, Selway. But anyways, they're being chased, and then the weasel catches up to them, and he tells them why they're being chased, because the badger because his father had passed away, and his den is left to his offspring, and his older weasel tells him that his other brothers have also passed away, so he would inherit the den. But Bernard, the badger, wants the den, so he wants the fox to be found, and he hires the weasel to find him, and he hires the snake to kill the fox. So the weasel doesn't really do anything. He just tells him the information, that information he didn't know, and that makes Horace really sad. But now him and Charlie have an adventure. Like, they need to get to that den before the end of the week, so that he can claim his home. Then they have trouble finding the directions, how to get there. Later, the Bishop Fox helps them find the right direction. It's really sad. A lot of the story is really sad, because it's all about, because at one point in the story they encounter some people that, some teenage kids that are really mean, and they have a dog, and that dog causes Horace and Charlie to split up, and Horace thinks that something bad happened to Charlie, and this is when Horace really gets really sad and feels afraid and unwanted, and it's really sad. It made me cry sometimes. And when he loses Charlie, he's like he's at the wetlands, and the creatures there are really mean to him. They throw stuff at him, they try to kick him out, and they're really mean to him, and that part was really sad. So chapter 9, 10, and 11 some tough chapters for Horace. He was alone. It was really sad. He encounters another fox named Johnny Red. He's an older fox that kind of gives him a few lessons. He kind of tells him, because he's hurt, so he tells him you need to be physically good to be able to keep going. He also tells him that sometimes you need a plan B when things don't work out. So it kind of gives him a different perspective on life. And then the snake, throughout this whole time, the snake is coming after him, and the snake finally gets to him and attacks him. But Charlie comes back. He saved him, but I think the snake barely bites him, so he still was striked. He just wasn't fully poisoned. This causes a fight. Charlie and Horace fight the snake, and the snake flies and ends up hung on a tree and stuck with his fangs like this. And he, the only way to get him down is pulling him out, and therefore him losing the fangs. So he no longer is able to poison people, to poison other characters, other animals. Charlie explains why he got lost, like where he went. Animal rescue got him, they fixed him up, and then let him go again. So, but the whole time he was worried about Horace, and Horace was worried about Charlie. Just throughout the story, they developed a really nice friendship. So I think that's one of the things of the book. It shows a lot of friendship in here. Because Charlie, multiple times when the weasel finds them, he pretends to be Horace to protect Horace. And he also protects Horace when they encounter the badger. When they're trying to claim his den, he pretends to be Horace. And when the snake loses his fangs, he has a lisp. And they show this with the text, like the words are written, "Then I'll finish the job, it's not over yet." So it kind of shows the lips he has. I thought that was kind of cool. So they finally get to the den. They have to encounter the badger. They have a fight. That's when they encounter also Loveness Fox and her mom. They tell her about his dad, about how he loved his mom, about how he wanted to go back, but he didn't because he was afraid that they weren't gonna be together anymore. And then at the end, he finally finds his home. He's able to stay at his home, and he reached his goal. He found his own little home. I think the message behind this is really his growth throughout the book too. He starts off being sweet and innocent, and he turns into this brave, tough fox, even though he's still sweet and caring. His friendship also is, I think, a really big point in the book. His friendship with Charlie is really important. He even, at multiple points, he calls him his brother. Like, that's how close they are. The visuals, like I showed, they're black and white. They're really simple, and most of them are about the different characters and animals. Not much of the scenery, but a lot of, like, animals. This book is definitely fiction. It's about a fox. It doesn't have actual facts. It's not an actual story of a specific fox. It's not. Even if it was, we wouldn't know what goes on in Fox's brain, so we don't know if this is a true story. Obviously, it's not. It is fiction. My favorite quote is at the end. He obviously, throughout the book, he's trying to find this den that his father left him. And then when he finally gets there and he's in it, he kind of feels sad. Like, he doesn't feel like this place is his home, because his home is with his mom and his sisters. But Loveness Fox and her mom kind of explained to him how some foxes aren't lucky enough to have a home. That foxes have to travel far and wide to make their own way in the world, and this is what foxes do. So he has like this realization, and this is my favorite quote when he says, well, it says, Loveness's mom says, "It's time for you to make your own life, Horace." And then Horace took a deep breath. It was a lot to take in. He looked around at his friends, new and old, from Charlie Boom to Weasel the Hoop, Claritina, Loveless's mom, and his dear Loveness. He had a lump in his throat. I've spent so long concentrating on the home I lost that I haven't been able to see the one that I've gained. I think that's really, really nice because it kind of shows his growth of his realization, and his adventure wasn't all for nothing. He found a home with new friends, new family. He has his family of his mom and his sisters, but he also has this new family that he created, that he gained throughout his adventure. So that was my favorite quote, when he says that he's gained one. The strengths, it has a lot of descriptive words. It's very descriptive with the settings. I also thought that this one of the strengths was friendship and the empathy shown, because this is when kids develop empathy, and it really has a lot of sad moments, really a lot. So I think those are some strengths. The students can also stay engaged, because this book is full of adventure and different actions. The language is appropriate, because it's about a fox. I thought it was also, with the empathy, I also thought it was really funny that when he's really sad, when he loses Charlie, it even begins to rain, and I think it kind of reflects how he's sad and lonely. Like I said, the imagery is very minimal, but it creates an opportunity for students to create their own scenes in their mind. And I think for the weaknesses, I think since this isn't a perspective of a fox, there are some terms that we're not familiar with, or students might not be familiar with. Not things about foxes, because we can use that to learn about foxes, but stuff like he uses words to describe different things that we know as different words. Like he uses sticks to refer to humans, and he refers to metal monsters when he's referring to cars. Like when sticks was first introduced, I wasn't sure what that meant or what that was until I kept reading, and I figured out that it meant that he was talking about humans. But so you'd have to figure that out with context clues. Sometimes it doesn't tell you. So I think that could be a weakness if the students don't know what one thing is and they read the whole book without knowing what that one thing was. Like if they didn't know that sticks were people, it can create, like, not knowing what that was is a big part of the book. So I think it would be a good idea to go over words and phrases like that are specific to him, to go over those so that students can have a clear picture of everything. How this could be used in a classroom setting. If we were to read this book in class, I think a good idea would be, there's 18 chapters, so I think a good idea would be having students draw a setting or an event from each chapter. Every time we finished a chapter, we can have students draw something from the chapter that they recall, and they can each have something different. And then you can make big groups of students after they've done drawing, and have them put them in like order of the chapter, because when they draw it, they can put the page number of where they drew it from, and then they can put it together and like tell the story of that chapter with their images. I think that would be a good idea. Like it would also include visual learning but they're also being able to remember the story with images. Um, I also think that we can even create a timeline throughout reading it, and then at the end we'll have this big timeline of what he did first, what happened, who he encountered, things like that. I think this is just, it'll all comes down to Horace's adventure, because this book is full of different events, different things in here. So I think that would be a good idea. Like I said, the message behind this book is really, really sweet about his life and how he grew into this tough fox. And I think this is a really good book for students. I really enjoyed it, and I think anybody after the age of like 8, anybody can enjoy this book. So this is Horace Fox. Thank you.